Tanse, hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, however you're listening to this podcast. Thank you for supporting the work that we do. The UDR Cast is a full-time job, takes a lot of work. I have a lot of people helping me, supporting me behind the scenes, and basically really trying to support the people who listen to it. I do the UDR Cast out of the passion of my heart, and sometimes, it gets hard to make it happen. But we as a team try to join forces and get the content out. So I'm just asking you from my heart if you have an opportunity to maybe help support the podcast through donations, a cup of coffee a month, a cup of coffees a month. Check out my Patreon account. We're accepting subscribers and donations there. Also, if you want to click onto my website, BILLWARDLIFE, there's a button there, it takes you to the Patreon. And, if we're helping you or your family or understanding, just think about giving us a hand up so we can keep creating great content. And if you have any suggestions on what you might want us to talk about, leave it in the comments on the website. Thank you. Hi.
Welcome to the UDR Cast, coming to you live from the recovery capital of Canada in my apartment studio in downtown Calgary. Yeah, welcome everybody. Good to see you all. Here with a really good friend, Tom Mills. We did an interview years ago when I was not on video. We were just doing audio, and there was something wrong with the audio and we just couldn't get it fixed up. And so here we are again. Tom, thank you for coming in, buddy. Really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. You got a pretty deadly story. And I know even the last time we talked, you kept it pretty PG. I know it could be pretty fucking raw, right? And I just want to kind of reiterate what we did a few years ago. But before we do that, we'll let these listeners know a little bit more about how we met. How did we meet?
We met at a 12-step meeting on Center Street through a mutual friend you were sponsoring at the time.
Cassidy?
Yes. Yeah.
You guys were in treatment together?
Yeah, we were at Simon House.
Roger. Yeah, there was quite a group of you guys there. If I remember correctly, there was a little group of you guys. And out of all you guys that were there, how many of you are now still sober?
Some people have relapsed, come back, but I think there's 3 or 4 of us out of my group.
And they're still sober?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
2 that I know of for sure. Me and one other guy.
Good.
But then there's like a couple of guys that I see around that are staying sober that were in groups before me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How many years sober are you now?
7 years and 3 months, I think.
Roger.
I only know because of the apps.
Roger that. And how has it been? In segments, how was the first bit? How was the middle bit? And how has the last few years been?
Well, honestly, I think the first year was the easiest year.
Yep.
Right, because I'd spent 9 months in the bubble at Simon House. So it was pretty easy there. It's had its ups and downs. It was just after a year that it got a little rocky for me. I had to give you a call. You broke step 10 down for me again, and that opened up a new way of living for myself, and it's been working since. And then it smoothed out for a bit, and then 2.5 years, shit got squirrely again in my head, and you brought me back to step 2, 3, gave me some literature from the Oxford group, and I keep that stuff on my phone today, and I use it when I take guys through the steps.
Mm-hmm. And it was funny, right before we rolled the cameras, we were talking about life, and you said, well, acceptance is the answer to all of our problems, isn't it? And I said, do you use it? Or does it work? I said.
Yeah.
And you're like, if I use it.
Yeah. If I apply it, yeah. Yeah. It's the same with all the steps. If I apply it, it's see, excuse me. I got my first big book when I was 18 years old. Mm-hmm. And I'd been in and out of the program up until 7 years ago. So it wasn't until I started to apply what the literature said that it was really starting to change my life.
Did you know that 18, 19, 20, as you were in and out, did you know to apply the directions, or was it more of like a philosophy type approach?
For me, it was like at 18 years old, I went to 2 meetings. My aunt gave me a big book. Right? I thought AA was amazing because it was Friday night, I was sober, and I still had money in my pocket from payday. I thought it was great. AA is the coolest trip in the world. I'm sober, and I managed to get a week. But being 18 years old, in a room full of older people, right? Because most people don't get this until they're really realize that their life is shit. Mm-hmm. It wasn't relatable for me, right? And so I'd been to a few meetings, and then my life was always unmanageable. I just thought that was what it was. Mm-hmm. I graduated by the time I was 21. I was on Hastings, sticking needles in my arm, wired to heroin, mm-hmm. And I didn't hit treatment until I was 31. I didn't even I'd heard about it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it entailed. And then so this was Kinghaven was my first treatment center in Abbotsford. 12-step based, did my 5 with out at the Westminster Abbey, which when I look back at it today was sort of an ego booster, because I got to talk about how G I was and all the dirty shit I did out on the streets, and with a priest who I knew couldn't tell anybody. So it was all, it was ego boosting, right? Ego bolstering. And I came out of there on a pink cloud, and everything was great. Got a girlfriend. You know the story from there.
I do. So safe to say you really weren't ready, or you were listening, but you weren't hearing.
Yeah.
But at least you were getting sprinkled with the sprinklings of what 12-step recovery was and what it could do.
Yeah. Which
was a positive in the end.
Well, I got 90 days in or something like that, 120 days or something, and that had been the longest I'd ever been clean and sober, right? Since I was about 13 years old. I had my first drink when I was 4 years old. My cousin and I, we found a bag full of those little 1-ounce bottles. So by the time I was 4 years old, I knew I liked Kahlua better than whiskey, mm-hmm. right? Because it tasted better. So, and it was, you could drink during the holidays, Christmas, Easter.
Well, let's backtrack. Let's go way back, right?
Further than 4?
Just slide over just a tiny little bit and realign with that mic. But let's go way back. What was it like? What did you grow up like? Were your parents around? Did you have siblings? What was your relationships like? And where'd you grow up? And what was family life like back then?
So my mom and my father, my dad had married my mom after a motorcycle accident because he felt like it was the right thing to do. He'd almost killed my mom in a motorcycle accident. It was an accident. It wasn't his fault. I don't know what happened. They T-boned a pickup truck, and my mom flew off the back, hit the roll cage, pulverized half her face, and landed in the ditch. And this was in Richmond, BC. This was before I was born. So my mom and my dad had married out of obligation, I guess.
Mm.
And after I was born, I guess my mom and him got a divorce, and I didn't really know him. I got to meet him later on in life when I was about 17 was the first time I actually got to meet my father, like my biological dad. The man who I thought was my dad, because his name was George Towell. He was a fisherman, worked on the rigs, come and go type deal, you know. But he'd taken me under his wing and treated me as his son, right? And when I was 4 years old, I don't really remember it. My mom said I came out of the bedroom, and my mom was crying, and I said, "Dad's not coming home, is he?" And she's like, "No, Tommy, he's dead." He'd been fishing up in Port Hardy and slipped off the deck, broke his ankle, and ended up under the dock. And they found him a week later, right? From that point, I watched everybody drink to grieve, right? Grieving was, you know, you drink when you're sad, you drink when you're happy, you drink. Drinking was just a way of life back then. And, yeah.
Was your mom a good mom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And your stepfather was a good stepfather?
He was very, yeah.
And how many years did you have the stepfather in your life before he slipped under the dock and passed away?
I'm not even sure. It's kind of before I can fully remember. Like he was there from when I remember till he wasn't there.
8 years old, 7?
Oh, he passed when I was 4.
Oh.
Right. So like my first memories of fatherhood were demolished.
Roger.
Right at the beginning. Right.
Siblings?
I have one brother, one sister. They're from a different father. 10 and 11 years gap between us. So.
Older, younger?
Younger.
Oh, so they weren't even in the picture for a while yet?
No.
So after that, where'd you go? What'd you do?
I was born in Dawson Creek, northern BC. I remember living in Grand Isle, Fort St. John, moving around a whole lot. I was in 13 different schools by the time I was in grade 10. So I never really had that opportunity to fit in with anybody. I was like every 6 months we were moving somewhere else and doing something different.
How come?
Different time era, I guess. Maybe my mom had itchy feet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were living out of vans, trailers, just jumping around.
Mm-hmm.
Single mom, right? Like, I'm sure depression, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know myself losing a spouse is probably one of the hardest things any person can deal with.
Mm-hmm. So, bouncing around northern BC, did you settle somewhere?
Lower mainland, not until she met my brother's dad, my brother and sister's dad. Then there was a little bit of normalcy. I was 7, I guess, something like that.
And was that down in the lower mainland?
Yeah. We lived on the Fraser River. We had 2 houseboats, 2 sailboats, and I lived on the Fraser River, Vancouver Island.
You lived on the river in a houseboat?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Trippy.
Good times.
Good time.
It's funny, you know, like you don't when you're a kid, you don't understand you take everything's for granted, right? Today, man, I would do anything to just live on a boat and, you know, go back in time. I grew up with my head down a piling, you know, watching fish and fishing and crabbing and, you know.
It was just life.
And it was just life, and you take it for granted when you do it every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now that I don't get to see that every day, it's like, man, I miss that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, where did you live?
I lived in South Delta for, I think, from grade 4 to grade 7, I lived in South Delta.
I was just in Delta last week. It's a beautiful, beautiful community.
Yeah. And then we packed up and went to Vancouver Island, and I lived Maple Bay, Genoa Bay.
And did your mom drink all through these years?
Not heavily, like
Just normal drinker
just
stuff?
normal drinker stuff. Yeah.
So you weren't being exposed to any like terrible habitual drinking or violence or anything through these years?
My brother's dad had a problem. Right? He did.
So by the time you moved over to the island, you had your siblings now?
Yeah.
And he was now in the picture, the father of your other 2 siblings, and you could see that he had a problem.
Yeah, I thought it was just normal.
Yeah.
Right.
But looking back.
Looking back now, yeah, there's a problem there.
Any like family issues with that man in the life?
Emotional, a little physical.
Yeah. Nothing crazy for the time?
Nothing sexual or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, keep rolling out the story, bro.
So like I could always, at Christmas, Easter, you know, all those family functions, I was allowed to have a glass of wine, you know, with dinner. There was always at my grandparents' place, always a box of wine. Growing up, I stayed, like we were a pretty tight-knit family, my cousins and aunts and uncles and my side of the family and my grandparents and my great-grandfather and great-grandmother. They all had this like two lots in Richmond, just on Blundell Road, in between 3 and 4 Road there, and like there was two properties, and there was just like acres of blueberries and places for us to run around back in the 70s and 80s, and you know, it was a good time, right? And then my grandmother passed away, breast cancer, and then that threw a wrench in everything, because my grandmother was the thread that held everybody together, right? And once that happened, it was just, there was no more Christmases, no more Easters, no more. And then I managed to, well, I wasn't drinking daily, but I didn't drink a lot after that, you know, until I was about 14 years old. And then I started drinking on weekends and like blackout drunk from 14 on type deal. I'd always drink to get drunk. And
Who would you drink with?
friends, you know. I was living in Duncan at that time, Maple Bay, and we all had long hair, listened to Metallica and AC/DC and Ozzy, and Friday nights would come around and we'd pool all our money together and we'd drink all weekend long, and then, you know, drink during the week, smoke weed. And
Sounds like a typical life, like how I lived.
yeah.
And that's how it got started.
And that's really how it was. That's when it started to, take effect with me, because it was the only way I could fit in was drinking and partying. Even then, I couldn't do it, right? Because I jumped around so much. didn't really have any friends. So when I did connect with people through drugs and alcohol, it felt like we were family at that point, right?
Mm-hmm. I can relate. You know, being a sponsor and doing it for so many people, one of the things that I've collected for data is the individual who moves constantly as a little kid, I think they increase their chances of becoming an alcoholic or an addict. And I've seen so many people that have just moved over and over and over and then all over the country or never been able to establish friendships and connections in their early years.
Yeah.
And it really affects their life, eh?
Yeah.
Jesus.
There's no stability. If there's no stability growing up, then what have you got, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And they say the opposite of addiction is connection, and it really makes sense in that way.
Yeah.
Especially as a youngster.
Yeah.
Okay, so where along this journey did you meet your wife? And I'm asking because I want to either kind of jump up there or kind of, I want to find out how you made it to Hastings.
Okay, so let's see, I probably would have been 19. I was living in a basement suite just off Broadway in East Vancouver. There was 2 people upstairs around our age, maybe a little bit older, who were using heroin.
Who were you living with?
I was living with a friend of ours, out of the group of guys that we used to hang out with. And,
Okay.
yeah, he was an old pen timer too, right? Like he'd been in and out, old, but he was still young, right? 25 years old, but he'd been to the pen a couple of times, and so he knew all about the heroin, and he was starting to chip with it, and their dealer noticed that I wasn't using, and at that time it was probably one of the only drugs that I didn't use, and I was on welfare, I was drinking, and I needed money, and he about 3 or 4 months after meeting him, he asked me if I wanted a job selling heroin, and that's how it started. I started to sell heroin when I was about 20 years old, and I ran around the streets of Vancouver selling heroin for a year before I started doing it. But I was
just running around selling little bags to people for little amounts of money?
20s and 40s, and
yeah.
But yeah, it was lucrative. There was a lot of money in doing that because of the quality of the dope, and it was at that time it was good. People would die and the phone would blow up.
What do you mean?
Well, with heroin, it's not the same as fentanyl, right? Like, it's not as potent as fentanyl, but the stronger it is, the more susceptible it is to killing somebody. And when somebody would die,
you knew it was good.
You know it was good, and then the phone would just go off the hook, right?
Because people wanted the high quality stuff, and
yeah,
they weren't afraid of dying.
No, it's not going to happen to me, right?
Wild.
Or who cares if I do? I got nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
Which was where I was at the end. I just wanted to die. I didn't care anymore.
So a year in running around selling it, you ended up starting to do it.
Yeah, well, I was drinking every night, and by 10 o'clock, if I didn't have beer in me, I was already starting to shake. And it's funny, the people that were scoring off of me thought I was using because I was just as sick as they were from not drinking. And then I started doing more and more cocaine, started smoking it. Next thing you know, I'm up for days at a time, shuffling around, and my buddy just said to me one day, "Man, you gotta come down. You've been up for days. You should do some of that." And I tried it for the first time,
And it brought you down.
and it didn't take me long after that to be bottom of the barrel, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, I was out doing crime.
And where was your mom in all this? Did she know that you were deteriorating?
No, I knew the drama that came along with drugs, so I disconnected. I didn't want as far as anybody knew, I didn't have family, I didn't want anybody knocking on my mom's door. So I completely disconnected. I remember one time I got a phone call and she used my real name, Tommy. Hey, Tommy, how you doing? And I hung up. I thought it was the cops, right? And I was just like, what the fuck? Click. And I shut my phone off, and it turned out it was my mom. We hadn't talked in a year, right? So.
And, okay. So you're a bottom of the barrel heroin addict down on East Hastings.
Yeah.
You're somewhere around 20, 21 years old.
21 years old was when I started using, yeah.
Did you end up on the streets too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it only took me a month to end up back out on the streets and, learning how to survive out there. Because I didn't come from that. I came from a loving and caring family, right? As dysfunctional as it was still loving and it's hard for a single mom. It's hard for, but there was a lot of love there. And then going out there, not a lot of love there.
What was it like trying to survive on the streets in East Hastings?
I had to learn how to make money without selling drugs, right? So it just started hooking up with different people, learned how to steal cars, I learned how to boost, I learned how to live out there. Live out there, robberies and all that other stuff that comes along with addiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of violence, lots of...
Was there any love on the streets?
Fake love, lots of fake love. Hey, brother, how are you?
Hug you with a knife in his hand, gonna stab you in
Pretty
the back.
much, yeah.
Was there any outreach teams doing outreach and things like that?
There was. I tended to stay away from them. My pride wouldn't let me be a part of that. I had to do my own thing,
Was there a lot of death on the streets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than growing up, I got used to people passing, but then because I started with my uncle, my dad, and my grandma, and then friends, everybody goes. But it just seemed like anybody I ever got close to passed away. So
Okay. Let's fast forward to you meeting your wife.
that would have been I was in Nanaimo.
How old?
30-something.
So this is after stint in treatment?
Yeah. This was like probably my third or fourth treatment center at this time.
Okay.
And I met Sarah, and she was embarrassed that I was going to AA, and so I quit going to meetings. Didn't take long for me to start drinking again, start using again.
Yeah.
So
And then you guys lived out there, and you ended up bouncing around over to Saskatchewan, and
Yeah, well, the drugs brought me back into the criminal world again, and I got charged with a robbery. I think I got 18 months for it, but she was there for me though through it, and she'd come visit me, and when I got out, I went and grabbed a couple ounces of coke, and we were in Victoria at the time. And then I went missing for 3 days, and she was just like, if you don't come home now, you'll never see me again. So I came home, and she gave me an ultimatum, either you're coming with me or you're not, and if you don't, then you'll never see me again. So we moved out to bigger Saskatchewan.
no way.
Yeah.
And she was healthy, and everything was fine at this point, although you guys had turmoil by the sounds of it.
Yeah,
And was she using drugs?
not like me.
Okay.
Not like me. No.
Like a moderate or a heavy user, but not a full-blown?
Yeah, she she had a knee injury, so she was on Percocets and things like that, right? But it wasn't like me, needles. There was addiction issues for sure. And then, so we were in Saskatchewan. We were in small town Saskatchewan. It was like stepping back into the 70s. This was early 2000s. And, rural Saskatchewan, it's all jacked up trucks and gun racks and people riding around in the box. It was like literally stepping back in time, and yeah, everybody's.
And why did she pick bigger Saskatchewan?
Real estate was cheap. We ended up buying a house for $15,000.
No way.
Yeah. And, so we bought that outright. I ended up getting a job welding. Learned how to weld. Learned how to sandblast. Learned how to paint, industrial spray, right, epoxy linings and stuff like that. Built tanks for the oil industry, sour gas tanks and stuff like that. So out there, I grew up and learned how to be a man.
So it was a good move.
It was. Fundamentally, it was a good move, but I was dry. No program, no nothing. And, everybody out there drank like I drank. I stayed away from the drugs, but I drank just like everybody else does. And yeah, I came home one day and after getting drunk, and she got mad, fucking hauled off and cold-cocked me, and so I grabbed her by her wrist, spat on her, and threw her on the couch, and she called the cops, and I ended up catching a domestic, right? And so we had a no contact. She had nobody, I had nobody. We're out in the middle of bumfuck Saskatchewan, and so I ended up having to take a domestic violence program. At that time, that was probably the first time I actually got to look at my part and stuff. Yeah, maybe I was a little controlling. Maybe I was a little abusive in my own way, even though I'd never hit her. But it got to show me things, character traits that were controlling and abusive. I didn't really realize it, right? So that was another thing that was good. That came out of a shitty situation, right? And, so I'd managed to quit drinking for 3 years after that. Just dry, no drinking. She gave me a pass one weekend. Said my buddy had asked me to come out fishing, and we were going camping and fishing, and she gave me a pass. Said, "Yeah, you've been sober for 3 years. Go ahead, go get drunk, right?" Fuck yeah. Been waiting for this for 3 years. And and then it started the ball rolling again, right? You know how the obsession of the mind. Even after the weekend was like, hey, well, I'm just going to sneak a beer here and sneak a beer there. She'll never know. And I'd come home after a couple of beers. And you've been drinking. No, it's only been a couple beers. I'm not drinking, right? Because for me, drinking meant to get drunk. I wasn't drunk. It was only a couple beers. But yeah, and then the weekends would roll around and the same shit would happen. Next thing you know, I'm doing cocaine again. But seemingly having it all under control.
Mm. Yeah. So you guys weren't fully getting along?
Well, she'd been diagnosed sometime around there with a brain tumor on her pituitary gland. And so there was stressors, and yeah, my drinking didn't help. And, but we were together, and we were like, you know, if things didn't happen the way they happened, I'd probably still be with her. So what happened was she had to go for surgery, and the doctor nicked a vein in her brain, and she was leaking spinal fluid out of her nose, because that's how they go in. They go in through your nose, because your pituitary is between your eyes. They go in through your nose, and they nicked a vein, and she was leaking spinal fluid out of her nose, and so they patched her up, and she got a spinal tap and all this other stuff. But she was immobile for about 6 months. She couldn't do anything. She was pretty much bedridden. She'd get out of bed for a little bit and then have to go lie back down because she was in such rough shape. And I guess she went for, by this time, all the Percocets and all that other stuff had started to shut her kidneys down. And so the doctors had put her on methadone for pain management. And she'd ask me, you know, what do you think if I drank all this, I'd die? And, you know, I would try not to answer it. I knew it would kill her, but so they wanted to do another surgery because of the tumor. It came back. It was bigger than it was before. They wanted to do another surgery. They couldn't do it. She wouldn't do it. She was too scared, and I don't blame her for that. There was another option, would have been gamma ray, completely fry the pituitary gland and be on hormone therapy for the rest of her life. No chance of ever having children. Or let it be. And she was too scared to go for surgery. All she wanted in life was children. And she couldn't live with the pain. And I was playing Call of Duty one night. And she called me into the bedroom, and she's like, I'm sick of this. I'm going to kill myself tomorrow. I said, shut up. Don't talk like that. We're going to get through this. Everything's going to be okay. And, you know, by this time we'd made plans. We were going to sell the house. We were going to buy a motorhome. And we were just going to go travel the country. Who fucking cares? We got the dogs. We got us. Let's just travel the country. We can see the country. I can't go to the States, but we can do this. And, you know, that was sort of a plan. If we needed money, I could go get a job, fill the tank up, get some groceries, and do it all over again, right? And, you know, for me, that would have been ideal. I grew up moving around all over the place anyways. I lived in trailers, out of vans, you know, sailboats. And I just said, shut up, fuck, quit talking like this. And I got mad at her. And I went back to the couch and started playing video games. And then I got up the next morning, I went to work, and I came home from work and I found her dead on the floor after 8 hours, right? And there was a note sitting beside her. She ended up taking her life. And
How did she do it?
she drank her methadone. Because she was getting carries, right? I'd have to go to the pharmacy to pick up her carries and bring them back home, right?
Mm-hmm. What are carries?
Her week supply,
Mm.
right? She couldn't make it to the pharmacy, so I got the okay from the doctor to pick up her prescriptions and bring her back, right?
Mm.
So it was, yeah.
So she just chugged all of her methadone and that killed her?
Yeah. She waited until she had a full week supply, and then the next day she drank.
And you guys had left on not the best of terms?
No, not at all, no, because I was mad at her the night before she did it, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't even get to be, I wasn't compassionate about it, right? But that broke me. I didn't, yeah. That broke me.
Yeah, I bet it did.
Right? Like seeing my best friend on the ground. Right?
With a note?
Yeah, she looked like because all the blood from her head had pooled in her neck. And it looked like she'd swallowed a donut whole. She would look like a zombie. She was all blotchy, and like I'd seen dead bodies before. I'd stepped over them in crack houses and scored and things like that in the past, but this was different for me.
Yeah.
This was really different for me, and it really messed me up.
Would it be safe to say she was your reason to live? And that's why you were living the life you were living?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because like everything, because she wasn't well, and she needed help, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and then the doctor. Love kept us together for sure, right? Throughout it all, we loved each other. It might not have been the healthiest relationship, but there was still a lot of love there. Mm-hmm. On both sides. She was my best friend.
So did that set off a spree?
Yeah, well, yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah, I lost the house, I lost the cars, I lost my dog, I lost, that country song.
Yeah.
Right. I lost it all within a year. I was back in jail. I'd catching breaches.
Angry as fuck.
Angry. Yeah. And then spending more and more time in jail, I got hooked up with the wrong people inside. And next thing you know, I was on the streets in Saskatchewan for 7 years before I stole a car and came out here.
And you got mixed up with a bad crowd.
Yeah, to say the least.
And you did a lot of bad things.
Yes, sir.
And then you fleed out here.
Yeah.
When I met you, how long after your fleeing had I met you?
35 days.
Really?
I was like, I'd just gotten into Simon House. Just got out of detox, just got into Simon House.
So you're probably worried that some of whoever you had fled from were going to find you at some point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Based on whatever it was in that you were into, which I know some of. Yeah. But we won't go into it here today. We could at another point if you ever wanted to. So I meet you 35 days after fleeing 7 years of like some pretty unbelievable living, pretty unbelievable lifestyle. Mm. We'll just kind of chalk it up to the same type of life that gangs would live.
Yeah.
And then you just said, fuck this, I've had enough, I need to get out of this.
It was either that or die.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been a pleasant death.
No.
You know, at least with an overdose, it would have been quick, easy, and done.
Yeah. Did you contemplate suicide through these years?
Lots.
Yeah.
Lots. I couldn't do it, though. My religious teachings taught me different. Right?
So when you got into Simon House, were you determined to change your life, or were you just kind of hiding out, or what?
Didn't understand. Like, I didn't grasp it until I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I needed to change. And then I was sitting in a treatment. I was sitting at Simon House at the 6 o'clock meeting, and I was reading how it works. And, you know, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover cannot or will not completely give themselves to the simple program. That's what it clicked. It finally clicked. Like,
After all those years of reading
what the fuck? After all the years of reading it, hearing it read, it was like the hairs on my neck. That was like the first, like, actual spiritual experience that I encountered. And I was about 6 months in, and it was like, oh wow, click. You know, usually men and women are constitutionally capable of being honest with themselves, right? And then all the hairs on my neck, arms, everything just stood up. I got a chill. And then I realized this is what I have to do. I got to give myself to this program if I want to live a life worth living.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't even know if it was going to be possible, because there's really no guarantees.
Oh.
And when you're in that state of mind, it's just like, but you're willing enough because you're broken enough.
Yeah, like my step 3 while I was there was lip service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, God take my will in my life. Yeah, okay. Hey, I'm ready for step 4.
Mm-hmm.
What a fucking struggle that was. Step 4 with no God. Right.
So you bounced through that first year, you were sponsored.
I wasn't sponsoring my first year, no.
You had a sponsor, though.
Yes, I did, yeah.
That's the important part.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us how that year went, and what are the main points from those points on?
So my first year was pretty easy. I was at Simon House. We were supposed to shave every day. Okay. And the reasoning behind was that because you're actually looking at yourself. And I fucking hated I hate shaving. But it took me about 3 months before I could actually look at myself and say, you know what, you're not that bad. You've come a long way, and be proud of what you're doing. And I started going to a meeting, 12 Steps, 12 Traditions meeting on Saturday nights. And that was my home group. I got into a service position, GSR. And, I think I was 30 days sober, and they'd given me the keys to the church and said, you're opening and making coffee next week. And I was like, fuck, okay. But then that was how I started to really learn the steps, was those 12 and 12 meetings, because we'd read a step, and then we'd discuss it, and then we'd read a tradition the next week, and then we'd discuss it, and that's how I really started to learn to apply the steps. I love going to 12 and 12 meetings. I think they're the greatest meetings out there.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they're discussing the step, right? And the traditions are just as important,
mm-hmm.
if not more, right? So my first year was really service orientated, because I didn't know the book that well yet. And then I gradually got confident enough that I could sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
And then my first sponsee struggled with step 3. just couldn't do it. Overdosed and died, right? Because he just...
So your first sponsee overdosed and died?
Yeah.
That was a good start, eh?
Right?
That gives you the confidence to keep going. Jesus.
And, yeah, so... But it didn't... I just did what I had to do. And then I was like... Year 2, you brought me back into step 2 and 3 again. And I'd had a couple other sponsees, and I brought them through the book, and you know, a couple of them are sober today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
let's take our listeners back to a moment in time. This moment was significant to me. It was when I was sponsoring Cassidy, and you guys were all outside the Garnet block. There was 2 of you or 3 of you, I can't remember.
that was the first time we met.
That was when we met.
Yeah.
And I kind of fucking gave you guys shit.
Yeah, you told me I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah, something like that.
And I thought, well, fuck this guy, he's a dick.
Cassidy came and got me. He's like, bro, these guys they're thinking of leaving, or they're not, whatever. I don't know. I think he said these guys are thinking of leaving treatment and blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
he's like, can you come and have a quick chat with them? And I'm like, fuck, sure. And then I came over and met you guys and said, I don't know what I said, but it was probably not the nicest stuff. And
No, you said if I didn't get my head out of my ass, that I wouldn't make it. Not in those words, but that was the gist of it.
mm-hmm.
And then I pretty much said, fuck you, I'll show you.
Perfect. It was helpful then.
Bill, you've been nothing but help for me, man.
In a resentful fuck you
yeah,
kind of way.
Yeah, if you tell me I'm not going to do it, fucking watch me, right?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and year 2 bring you into the... And what I got to give you credit for, bro, is like, I'm not a chaser, right? And I never have been. And you always reached out to me when you were desperate. And I know in the earlier years I had way more time and I was way more available.
Yeah.
But in the later years it's kind of changed a bit. But you always had the desperation to do what it took to do what it took.
Yeah.
Because you knew your life was on the line.
My life is still on the line.
And it's still on the line, which is why you're still willing to do what it takes.
7 years into this, and I'm one bad decision away from death.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't matter how much work I put in yesterday. It doesn't work for me today.
Yeah.
You know, so.
What are the biggest pieces of the puzzle today that keep you on the beam?
Fear. Don't want to go back there, man.
Yeah.
You know, so what really works for me is sponsorship, sponsoring guys. I most recently, so I met a guy at that meeting on 16th, and this was a few months back. And he was drunk, but you know, I pulled him aside after the meeting and I talked to him for a little bit. All of a sudden, a couple months later, I got a call from him, and he's in treatment in BC, right? And he's been keeping in contact with me, and he just got back into town last week. And he, you know, you talk about that desperation and that willingness, right? Man, this guy got it. Like I'm tired. I'm frustrated. You know, the stampede and everything that's going on around it is just like, even though I'm not a part of it, it's messed my life up. So I'm like all over the place at this rate, right? And this guy just calling me, hey man, when can we start the book? When can we do this? When can we do that? What meeting should I go to tonight? And I got the kid chirping in one ear, and, you know, him in another. And but it is so worth it. Like, you know, just taking that time at that one moment I took for this guy, and, you know, he's doing what it takes, and that's what it's about, right? Like, I said something to him. I don't know what I said to him, but it got him to want to change, right? I don't even remember what I said. Oh, don't worry about it. You know, you're not the only one, I think. Something along those lines. Oh, I went to treatment. This is what I did. And I guess he was at that jumping off point, right? And I'm so grateful for that. You know, I'm grateful to have that, because it gives me the opportunity to dig back into my shit and share it with him.
And it's almost like, in many instances, just when we're scrambling our brains with self or with the problems of life, that phone rings and it's just the perfect time, right?
I don't know, man. It's God. God knows.
God
and
knows.
It's always with something that's relevant with your life.
Right.
Always. Like,
and you almost come to expect it, right? Like,
yeah.
God shots are... Jesus. You almost come to expect God shots, and when you're not getting God shots, you know you're probably straying too far away. And even when you stray away, they still come, but are you watching for them, and are you going to listen to them? So something that I'd like to, you know, as we wind down, something so significant, and we've talked about it as we've worked together for many years, and you were prepared to never see your mom again.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is going to make me probably my voice crack well up a little bit. I'm not kidding, because it's beautiful, man.
Yeah, man.
Like, yeah. You remember when I called you?
Yeah, dude.
She signed that do not resuscitate order.
Yeah.
How do I deal with this, Bill?
You tell us.
Oh, man.
Tell us how long it's been since you'd seen her as we go through this.
So I moved out to Saskatchewan in 2006. My mom came and visited 2008. And that was the last time I'd seen my mom. My mom raised me. My mom loved me. My mom, you know, it's my mom, right? And so my brother's in the program too. He's in recovery. My sister, she realizes that she's a workaholic, right? But through the program, I've been able to connect with my brother and my sister. And my mom was a little bit harder. You know, 3 years into it, 3.5 years into it, I was like, Mom, every time we talk, we're so distant. And she said to me, you know, 30 years of addiction doesn't change in 3 years, she said. And, you know, that touched my ego, right? In my mind, I'm like, fuck this, I got 3 years. I'm obviously doing what I need to be doing. She wouldn't recognize it. And so that hurt. And all I could say to her is, Mom, I can't promise you I'll never drink or use again, but pretty fucking sure I ain't going to use today, I said to her. And she's like, Tommy, watch your mouth. And, but you keep that attitude and you'll never have to drink again. Okay. And that was the beginning part of my step 9 for, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was at that point that she realized that I am doing. And then, so my brother bought a house in the interior of BC. And he last August, long weekend, he invited my family and I out to visit. And then he proceeded to tell me that my mom was going to be there. And, well, backtrack a little bit here. I was talking to my brother, and before this, and he proceeded to tell me that my mom had signed a do not resuscitate and what is it, MAIDS, medical assisted suicide, because she's got OCPD and a few other complications, and she just was giving up, and my mom had already told me that she, like, I was like, Mom, I'm coming out to see you. I need to see you. And she's like, no, you're not coming here. And this was, 3-4 years into it. She was adamant about me not coming out. And I had to accept the fact that I was never going to see my mom again because of my actions in addiction. Because she couldn't trust that I wasn't going to get high, right?
She was just trying to protect herself from potential hurt and harm.
Protect herself, protect me. She didn't want me to relapse. And Vancouver's my stomping grounds, right? My original home plate, right? And she just. So I had to accept the fact that I would never see my mom again, and that was really hard because, like, that's the first woman I ever loved. And, so we had a little bit of a talk about it, accepted it, and I had to respect her wishes, so I'd call her on the weekends and I'd do it. And then my brother phoned me up and said, hey, you're coming out this weekend and Mom's going to be there. My first words were, does Mom know I'm coming? Oh, yeah, she's okay with it. She can't wait. And that was,
Last year.
Last August, I was 6.5 years sober. And I finally got to see my mom after almost 20 years, right? And, wow. I pulled up out front of my brother's place, and I couldn't get out of the vehicle because I hadn't seen my brother in even longer. We'd been on the phone and we'd joke around, but this was real. And I sat there for probably 3 minutes, and he came out, and gave him a hug. My mom came out on the step. Tell him to get his ass up here. My mom, and we walked inside the house. My mom's brittle, really, really thin, and just tiny woman. So it's like when I hug her, my arms go right around her, right? I got to be gentle with her because she's been in so many accidents and stuff that it hurts. So I held her. Mom, I'm so sorry. Tommy, it's in the past, she said. Don't worry about it. We got right now.
Aww.
And, it was just beautiful. Sorry.
It's okay, bro.
So I got to hold my mom. That's what this program's giving me. It's giving me my family back.
And you got to bring your little boy to meet her.
Yeah, I got.
Right? The light of your life, Lincoln.
Oh, man. I wanted to bring him here, but he'd be good. He'd be on his iPad. He could be, Daddy, look at me, right? So,
yeah. What a gift, eh?
Yeah. This program it's given me so much, and it's taught me how to live sober,
right?
Because getting sober wasn't an issue. Throw me up for fucking 2 years at a time. I'd be sober for most of it, but I'd get out and I couldn't stay sober.
Couldn't live.
Yeah, I couldn't stay sober. Even if I had plans to stay sober, I couldn't do it. Like one time I called my mom up Hadn't seen her in over a year. Mom, I'm getting out tomorrow. Have a pot of spaghetti on. Coming home. And then they drop me off at the bus depot. And, oh, yeah, six tall boys won't hurt.
Right.
Right. Get on the bus, drink my 6 tall boys, get off it. At the bus depot down on Main Street, Vancouver. Oh, 1 rock won't hurt. 3 months later, I'm calling my mom back up. Mom, I'm sorry, I'm back in jail. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I often say it like this, you know. Creator was handing out manuals how to live life. And right when he got to me, I turned to my back and tied my shoe and missed the manual. And, you know, finally at 42 years old, I got my manual. It was the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Taught me how to live my life. And that's it. That's what it does. We grow up.
Yeah, I struggle with growing up. Fuck, 51 years old. I think I'm 18. My body tells me different, but I'm like, my brain's definitely not where it should be.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing because mentally I can keep up with my kid, but physically can't.
Roger. Well, Tommy, we're going to have to wrap her up here. You know, I've been working in the institutions, Drumheller Penitentiary, Paysac, and I was up in Stan Daniels, and I know a lot of guys who have been in prison who are addicts, alcoholics, and, you know, just your run-of-the-mill addict, alcoholic too, because I'm in recovery. But do you have, like, a final message for, like, somebody who's been hardened maybe from the system, the prison system, from, like, you know, a lot of these guys have been through CFS, and you've met a lot of Native people in jail, right?
Yeah.
Like, and some guys just think that this is the only life they're gonna live, right?
I was that guy. It was normal for me, right? I had to learn to trust at least one person. I had to trust you, right? I had to become vulnerable and trust somebody, and then look at myself and see where I was wrong, and, you know, let go, let God. Fucking resentments.
How hard was it to trust one person?
It was probably one of the hardest things. It's still one of the hardest. Like, you know me probably better than I know myself, and it's still hard for me to trust, right? But I had to do it. If I wanted to stay sober, I had to let go of the little take it to the grave secrets, right? Like it says in step 5, right? I had to let it all go.
And thank God you did, because a lot of those guys won't.
No, and until they do, they're just going to be sick.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're only as sick as our secrets. And I get it, right? I found that all that was all ego anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Wearing different masks to please different people. Survival technique. Right?
Mm-hmm. That's a good message. Okay, let's wrap her up. Love you, buddy.
I love you, brother.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for doing what you do and what you pack into the community and trying to help people and raising a strong kid with lots of love and working things out with your partner and just doing all the things that a good human does. I appreciate you, bro.
I wouldn't be here without you. So,
Hi, back at you. Keep inspiring, man. Nick Dalton loves you, bro. He inspires me, man.
Me too. Like he come home last night. Oh my God, I had the most spiritual experience. And told me how he went out to the mountains and meditated.
Good for him.
And that's where you get connection. I know that's where I get connected out there too. Fucking told you so, I said.
Shout out, Nick.
Yeah, hello, Nick. I love you, brother.
Love you, brother. Okay, Tom, love you, bro.
Love you, bro. Thank you.
Peace.